started working on it, but we were pretty busy working on our projects. So we had to head off to Atlanta, and I just said, why don't you just come and work as our assistant? Because being our assistant is a really easy job. You don't have to do hardly anything. So we thought you could really spend most of your time writing and working on the script. And, so he did. He came out, and that way he could be with us in Atlanta, and we could be all working together and kicking around ideas and stuff. All good? Okay.
So let me ask. I'm definitely excited that Tom Segura's in this movie.
So am I.
Yeah. What is it? A comedic role? What's the role? Like, who's he playing?
We talked to Tom, and we were like, it's a horror movie, you should try it out. And we're like, here's the deal, man. I'm just doing that. Try it out.
That's bits from his podcast.
I know, he's great.
Yeah, Tom, it was actually kind of funny because we originally were thinking of Tom for, there's a guy who we have kind of dubbed the Comic-Con priest in our story, a guy who kind of, Father John, who had gotten into the priesthood because he really almost sees the Old Testament like a graphic novel. And so we originally went to Tom to talk to him about that character, and I think Tom really wanted to get killed by the demon. So so I said, well, there is this other character, and that does actually get, I don't want to be giving stuff away, but...
You probably can't because they've probably seen the movie if they're watching this.
Oh, okay, good. But anyway, Tom wanted to be one of the characters that had a countdown and was kind of under attack. And we just really wanted him in the movie. So he plays Derek, who is a phone store manager and is kind of our tech guy in the story, and he's great in it. And his wife Christina came in to play his
A blind date.
Yeah, his blind date.
She's really funny.
Yeah, they were great together.
I like the idea of him being chased by a demon.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
and he did an incredible job, by the way.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So how does this movie differentiate from other modern horror movies in which people are killed by either an app or a phone, things like that?
I mean, I can't honestly say that I know every horror movie that works like that. With this one, this is a story really about, our phones give us all the predictions that we need in our life, whether it's the weather or the traffic or whatever. So I think when Justin started with this, it was sort of, what if your phone could give you the ultimate prediction of when you're actually going to die? And then, but that information comes at a price. And so that was really, where it started. So it's not, and I want to make it clear, this is not a movie about your phone killing you. It's not, the app doesn't kill you. The app, and when you see the film, it'll become clear. The app is just kind of a modern manifestation of an old curse that had it been, had you gone to seek out this information of when you're going to die in the 1500s, it would have come in the form of a scroll or something old-timey and cool like that. But nowadays, that stuff comes, whenever we get new information, it comes in our hands. So
We want the movie to be fun. I feel like a lot of horror movies nowadays, it's just scare the crap out of you. They're not a fun ride. Like when I was growing up, the Halloween movies, they were kind of fun. It was a thrill ride. So I'm trying to keep this one exciting and fun for the audience.
yeah, that was always our intention. Oh, thank you. Was to keep it just a good time, but as scary as you can possibly make it, and still keeping it fun.
Yeah.
Isn't this movie a little bit I want to say predictable if you have a countdown clock for every victim in the film? It's sort of like watching Final Destination. You just want to watch how they die. So how is this going to be different?
That was actually the most challenging part of working on the script, is that we wanted to, and I unfortunately I can't answer the question directly without giving a lot of things away.
Absolutely.
But it was something that we went round and round and round about, and that was why actually we were working with Justin on it for so long, because the first several iterations had that feeling of well, you're saying right on such and such page that this person is going to die by such and such time, and we had to get, I think, pretty we had to dig deeper into the characters and such to make it so that it's not all just plot about this clock and this phone app, and so we had to dig more into the character relationships to not only just distract from that, but to just make it a more interesting story.
Absolutely.
Piggybacking off of that, you said you went through so many iterations of it for a long period of time. Was there ever a deciding factor when you realized, okay, we got it right, now you want to do it?
Yeah. Well, it was interesting. There was one draft where, excuse me. There was one draft where we finally felt like the story, the scares, the surprises. Sorry, fellas. We're all there.
We've been shooting on this dusty stage now.
Yeah.
In my throat too.
God.
Hazard.
We finally got to this draft where we felt like it was all there and it was all working. And it was John actually who said, look, it's there, it's working, but it's not different enough, it's not unusual enough. We need to kind of take another pass and really look at how we can make these characters pop more. And dig in a little deeper. And that was actually where some of the Tom Segura and some of the other stuff really started to pop was, for example, we had kind of a garden variety horror movie priest in the script for a long time. And we were just so annoyed every time we saw that we thought about this character because we were just like, God, we've seen this guy 1,000 times. And we started talking about, different versions of, people that we've met and that kind of thing. And then when Father John started to come into focus and started to become just a more fun character, and just, to put a finer point on it, he's a guy who really is into demonology and all that kind of stuff, but has never had it knock on his door before. And when these people show up and say, we have this legitimate problem, he's kind of frightened for them, but at the same time kind of stoked, because it's kind of this thing that he's been wanting to get some proof on for a long time.
Happy to find out that it's finally real, that it's happening. Like, this is pretty awesome.
But still very worried for these characters that he's helping. So it was just things like that made the next draft.
And PJ Byrne came in and did it, and he's hilarious
and
did an awesome job.
Did a great job. But it was that draft that we wound up taking around, and STX jumped on, and yeah. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Was it always the supernatural?
It was always the idea from the beginning was always that we never wanted to get into like, oh, it's some hacker in a basement somewhere making an evil app. We always wanted it to be, like I said, a modern manifestation of something old and cryptic and so. Sorry, what did you just ask me?
Was it always
I was just going down memory lane for a second
Supernatural.
there. Yeah, was it always supernatural? No, but we did, yeah, so it always had a supernatural element to it, but in our early iterations of it, we were off in Crazy Town in so many different versions of how this countdown works and how it sort of comes for you. And some really bad ones, I'm not gonna lie. And it took us down a lot of blind alleys before we finally found a way to tell the story that we liked.
Yeah, we always liked the thought that this thing is worse than death. Like, if you just accept your death, you can die naturally and just go as you're supposed to. But if you cheat it, now something worse than death is going to make you pay for having that knowledge. So that always felt like more fun to us.
Yeah.
So
Dying's easy, as they say.
Oh, yeah. Somewhat. So what you're describing a little bit earlier when you were saying that you want the film to be more fun than most horror films, so what kind of tone does the film take overall?
Like, to me, growing up, like, even Nightmare on Elm Street had fun to it. What are the other good ones from way back?
I don't know. I mean,
Like Scream, or
yeah.
even I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like, they all just had kind of a thrill ride aspect to them. That the modern horror just seems like it's all just like creepiness and weirdness and scary. Like, I don't get a lot.
Yeah,
of
we've
fun
been in
out of
this
those
very
movies.
sort of gothic era of horror, and I love that stuff. But for this
Like
movie,
Happy Death Day is kind of in the new tone, I feel, or even spacing the name. Don't Breathe, I thought was kind of more of a thrill ride.
yeah, like Don't Breathe is actually a good example. I thought that movie was weirdly a lot of fun because of just the twists and turns that it took, even though it got incredibly creepy and crazy, and
Yeah.
you know, whatever. It was just a fun movie it was a fun ride to go on.
Yeah.
So with this film, would you say that there's a comedic element to it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a comedy, and certainly not to the degree that something like Happy Death Day is, but we wanted to give it a sense of humor because we also feel like the thematically the movie's all about death and about accepting not only your own death but the deaths of people in your lives, and
And we want to kind of let the audience in on, like, we know it's a movie about an app that's going to tell you when you die. We're not taking it so seriously that it's ridiculous. So we're kind of bringing you in, like, we know you're in on it. Let's go out and have a fun ride with it. So.
yeah. So it's just trying to strike that balance.
It doesn't sound like a horror movie with a lot of blood and gore. Do you guys have a rating you're hoping to get, like PG-13, R?
I believe this is going to be PG-13.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were never. None of us are really big on the blood and guts of it all. We've always felt like tension is just scarier than just like, you know, heads blowing up, and you know, not that I mean,
And for us,
I've certainly enjoyed a lot of those movies too.
Sure. I was gonna say, for us, there's also, like with comedy, there's that visceral reaction that we're looking for from the audience of, like, how do you set up the joke and the timing just right to get them to laugh, and it's kind of that same thing, like building the tension and then you're scared. So hopefully it's kind of still in our wheelhouse that we like those reactions, those gut level reactions from an audience.
Will we ever see, is it like an old manifestation? Will we get a glimpse of that? A flashback or an explanation?
No, I mean, you mean the like of where the sort of curse begins kind of
Yeah,
thing.
kind of.
Yeah, well, that's what Father John comes in and gives a little bit of backstory to what that is. And again, I mean, as you guys know, it's always such a fine line in any movie that has, not just horror, but any movie that has any level of fantasy. It's such a fine line of over-explaining that stuff versus having it not explained at all. And that was another thing that we worked, we spent a lot of time on. There were some where we would go back and read it and just be like, good God, this is like, who cares about all this nonsense in the past? And then other ones where it felt like, well, we need to know a little something. So it's like trying to strike that balance where you're giving a little bit of the story, but not hitting it so far on the head that it just starts to feel ridiculous, you know?
So there's enough that it's not ambiguous by the end?
Yes. Well, somewhat ambiguous. I mean, again, trying to sort of strike that balance to keep some mystery around it, but not make it just a complete, you know, anomaly, and just to have some
Seems like
sense
the
of
natural
working.
progression to me too. Of, like, you have these ancient books that are causing curses, and then like The Ring, you got the DVD, and then now it's transferred to your phone. Like, I don't know what'll be next.
So next year we're going to be working on a VR.
Right. Yeah. Haunted
It
VR.
rips your head off. That's not true.
You guys have 23 shooting days, and you're almost done. What has that schedule been like? Is it like a lot of challenges?
It's
like
been
that fast, or
scarier
is it
than the
normal?
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
what
were
ways?
sort of joking that when we make comedies, we work very, very hard to keep a really, really happy set because, you know, ultimately you're making a comedy and you kind of want the audience to sort of feel the good time that the crew and the cast are having, you know, coming off the screen. And in this case, it wasn't done intentionally. It's just that the budget dictates a really not enough days, so you're having to do so much every single day.
Yeah, it's like
Everybody-
shooting 2 days in one.
Everybody is scared that we're not going to make it every single day, so hopefully that fear translates to the screen. But yeah, no, it's really challenging trying to make an ambitious movie in 23 days.
Are there any similarities between making a comedy and a horror movie?
So many.
Yeah.
Well, so when we had worked with Justin. Justin had been a PA on our first movie that we did a long time ago called Sex Drive, and he was an aspiring filmmaker at the time. And whenever you make a movie and you have the young people that are working on it, there's always people that stand out, the people that you just know you can go to and count on them to take care of whatever he needs taken care of. And Justin was that guy on our first movie. So then we really liked him, and we just said, you know, hey, whatever you're doing, just keep in touch. And he did, and he would send us shorts and stuff of different genres every now and then. And then weirdly, one day he sent me this horror short called Countdown, and I watched it, and I was writing at the time, and I just watched the short and I was like, oh, that was cool. And I went back to writing and then I thought about it some more. I was like, oh, that was really cool. And I watched it again. And then I called him and I said, look, you know, this obviously is not what we do, but we grew up watching horror movies and we would love to, you know, to dig more into this. So as we started digging into it, we just started watching, you know, and breaking down a lot of different movies along with Justin. And one of the things that jumped out at us right away is that when you watch, and it doesn't really matter which era of horror, when you watch the way that horror set pieces are built, it's so similar to comedy, and in particular physical comedy, because, you know, it always starts with I mean, the best ones start with some sort of character-driven premise that gets you in there, and it teases you a little bit, and then it builds up, and then it creates some kind of an expectation, and then it subverts that expectation. They really are built in such similar ways that we just became students of it and found it really interesting of how much crossover there really is. It's like what John was saying before, whether you're trying to get a scream or a laugh out of people, you are trying to pull the rug at some point and get them to be surprised by something that they didn't expect was going to happen. So it really is similar.
Anything else, guys?
Oh, I think we're good.
You good?
Very good.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Drew. No worries.